Welcome to Extracurricular. I am your co-host, Eddie Geller.
And I am also your co-host, Stephanie Vanos.
I think you are the most important of the two co-hosts, in my opinion.
Well, that's your opinion.
We could do a poll.
Who's going to pay for it?
I don't know. This podcast is not making any money, so I don't think we can pay for it. But if a listener would like to sponsor a poll, please reach out to us.
We have an email now.
We do.
In fact,
we do have an email that is podcastextracurricular@gmail.com. If you want to reach out, you want to sponsor a poll, you want to just ask us how we're doing. I mean, I wouldn't mind someone asking me.
Eddie will be reading the emails, so good news there.
Stephanie Vanos, do you hold any titles or anything of prominence that people should know about?
Oh, I am the school board member for Orange County Public Schools. However, I am here today and always unofficially.
Unofficially. Do you think they might... What if we pitched OCPS on us doing the official podcast of OCPS?
I have a feeling Maria might miss her podcast. I'll be honest with you. She does a great job, and I think she might miss it.
Well, no, I'm not saying she's getting kicked out. Maria, if you're listening, we're not trying to kick you out. We're just, maybe there's two official podcasts.
Oh, I like it. It's a fun room.
Okay.
That back room there. It's exciting.
Do I have to edit another podcast? Maybe the one podcast.
Maybe we stick with one.
We'll stick with the one. Thank you so much for listening. So happy to have you. Please subscribe, rate us. Oh no, Stephanie drank a sip of wine and then put it down.
No, we're not allowed to say that on air.
Wait, why can't we say that?
Well, let's talk about what you can say on air. You said a bad word in this episode.
Okay, so we had two fabulous guests, Hope and Brady, who are high school students. They are Gen Z. And yes, at a point in the podcast, we were talking about something and I was frustrated, not at them, but at the state of the world. And I dropped an F-bomb. I don't know yet. We're recording this a bit early. I don't know yet if I'm going to bleep it out or not. We'll find out soon enough. But yeah, I might have been trying to look cool. Do you think so?
I think you were. And I'm not sure whether you succeeded or not, but that's for the listeners to find out if it's in there. I don't know. Maybe curse words are banned on the podcast. Who knows?
Well, I think we are anti-censorship on this podcast. So I think, we kind of got to let it fly. I mean, Sean Shaw asked us to bleep something. We bleeped it for him, but I don't know. I kind of feel like we got to just do our thing.
Well, we put our warning out there. So fair warning. If you have kids in the car.
We'll give you a timestamp. We'll put in the notes of when you should cover their ears. Also, if you're driving and they're in their car, do not go to the back seat and try and cover their ears. Please pay attention to the road and drive.
Be safe out there, people. Be safe.
So yeah, talk for a minute about this interview. This was so great talking to them. They were so smart and so thoughtful and so cool. I wish I was as cool as them.
Oh, I know. They're super cool. Yeah, super smart. We learned some interesting information about Brady towards the end that you'll want to pay attention to. But yeah, we had some topics that we knew they wanted to talk about, some topics that we wanted to talk about, and then some that just kind of came out at the end, and just love their takes. Love hearing from, kids on the ground. And I think we talk so often just about our youth, and whether it's in education, we're talking about students, or whether it's just in politics and community, and we're talking about, what they're looking for. And so it was so cool to actually not just talk about it and wonder, but actually have them on the podcast and tell us what they're thinking.
And they talked about vouchers, they talked about AI, and they talked about Mamdani, which we're not really going to delve into today, but I feel like that is the earthquake of the Democratic Party right now, and I really want to talk about it, but we will. That is going to be developing over the coming months until that general election. But I really do want to talk more about it because I think it's very meaningful, and you'll hear from Hope and Brady how much it meant to them to see a young progressive candidate find success in the way that he did.
Yeah, and just what they're looking for in terms of how people communicate. I think that was a big part of it too, and how candidates bring people in and how they develop grassroots success and how they get that support. And I think that is really, really important to young people and to old people and to all people.
What people want, I mean, this is a lot of what people are talking about lately, and they should be talking about, is authenticity in candidates, and candidates who are willing to take a stand and speak their mind. I think you were a very authentic candidate, and I think you're a very authentic member of the school board.
Well, I try, and some people like it, and some people do not like it.
Some people do not like it. So we here on the Extracurricular Podcast are very on record as being anti-censorship, anti-book ban. This is maybe like at the moment, if you listen to our, not last episode, the episode before that, we talked extensively, and you should go back and listen to hear what's happening in terms of the State Board of Education and book bans happening here in Florida. But this is still something you're talking about, and I love that you're talking about it. But I think there's some people who want you to move past it, and this is so important, and it's so important that you do keep ringing the bell on this. And I don't know, I'm curious how you feel about it.
Yeah, I do think there is a sentiment among some people. This has been an issue that's been going on, and a lot of people kind of throw book bans in the culture war fights, and people say they're tired of culture war. To me, it's not just a culture war fight. To me, this is truly about censorship. And honestly, this Board of Education issue, this is about following the law, and it's about following process, and it's about respecting local control as much as it is about censorship and who's deciding what is in our schools and what our students have access to. So I think it's a bigger issue. And yeah, not everybody is on board with that. And I can understand and have empathy for different positions that people take. But I will say, I was at Publix after the last board meeting, the Wednesday after the board meeting, and I ran into a teacher who I just adore. She's so wonderful. And she said to me, so we were talking about actually something that came up on this podcast, which is she was sharing that she has some family that lives up in Massachusetts. And she was sharing with her family how, our AP IB programs didn't get cut. And they were kind of like, what? Like, that was even a consideration? Yeah. Like, that's something that you're celebrating? And so we were talking also about, this push to pull more books and kind of circumvent the law. And she just looked at me and she said, I'm so glad that you're not letting this go. And that was just really meaningful for me to hear from a teacher who, by the way, is not an English teacher, not an ELA teacher. She's a PE teacher. And so people care. And it was just a reminder that people out there still do care, and that this is an issue that is important to people.
Well, I think yes to everything you say. And I'm going to yes and say, I think part of what is so disturbing, and again, people should go back, check out your Instagram page, Vote Vanos, to see those comments, or listen a couple episodes early where we talked about it. I feel, and I know a lot of others feel, like we are distraught and unnerved about this dystopian Orwellian sense that the State Board of Education comes down and they said these 55 books are pornography, and like just by decree, that's what they're saying these are. If any of you have read these books or see these 55 books, the list is on OCPS.net. Is it listed?
Yeah, I believe it's on there, and I can also share it as well. But yeah, it's got Judy Blume, it's got Wicked, it's got Last Night at the Telegraph Club. Right. And so it is, I know I just said it, but I bear to repeat, it is Orwellian. It is just by decree, like, this is pornography and this doesn't belong in our schools. And it's just mind blowing. It's like, no, that's not it. It's like saying the sky is purple or whatever, no, this is not the case. And you don't just get to say what this is and rule by decree that is based in, your prejudices or whatever you're making up on the dais. Like, we still deserve to live in a world that is based in reality. And I know that continues to evaporate, it seems, day by day, but it's still important to me. I know it's important to you and important to many of your constituents. For sure. Saying it doesn't make it so. and I'll just, throw it back to, listen to Hope. She talks today about just about the,
she's great.
Yeah, just about the difference in access to books, but not only that, but to classes and opportunities that we are already experiencing and maybe don't even realize it because of, just how the state of Florida often is in these issues. But it's restricting opportunities for our students. And I think that's important.
Okay, last thing, because we're going to let folks listen to the interview, which is fantastic. But before we go, the reason we're recording early, God knows who else we're going to bomb or who else is going to be arrested in the time between when we're recording this and when this podcast comes out. But you're going to be in Chicago. Let the listeners know, what is the one thing you're excited to eat in Chicago?
Portillo's.
There's plenty of Portillo. Well, I don't know if there's plenty, but there are Portillos here in Florida. But do you feel like it's a Chicago treat and you're excited to have it in Chicago?
It does not taste the same in Orlando. 100%. If someone disagrees with me, let me know. Portillo's
Podcast
in Orlando.
Extracurricular@gmail.com. I will read the email to Stephanie because she will not read it because she's not going to open the inbox, but I will read it to her. Wait, for folks who don't know, what is Portillo's?
It is so it started off as just like a hot dog. And They sold hot dogs and, Chicago style hot dogs, like the hot dogs that drag through the garden. So it's got the cucumbers, the onions, the relish, the mustard, never ketchup. Hello, never ketchup.
This is the happiest I think I've ever seen you on this podcast.
Well, and the funny thing is, and don't make fun of me, but really I don't even get hot dogs from there. They have the best chopped chicken salad. No gorgonzola, because that's just nasty. But otherwise, it is just the best salad you'll ever have. So that is what I get. I try to eat it every single day when I'm in Chicago, and my family kind of hates me for it, but I just love it, and I can't wait to get some Portillo's.
Well, I'm very excited for you. The gorgonzola heads are going to be in our inbox, blowing up podcast extracurricular@gmail.com. But I'm glad you're going to have what you want. All right, enough yammering. Let's get to our interview with Hope and Brady, just some fantastic students, friends of ours. Please enjoy.
Let's do it. Hello, welcome to Extracurricular. We are here today with two high school students, Brady Graham and Hope Adelson. And I am so excited to have this conversation. This is, an education podcast, and it's a podcast sort of about our future and our political future. And who better to have talk with us than our future? And so I'm so happy to have Brady and Hope here today. Would you guys want to introduce yourself a little bit? Hope, we'll start with you.
Hi, my name is Hope Adelson, and I'm going to be a senior in August. I've been in the public school system my entire life. I'm the vice chair of the Florida High School Democrats, the president of the Boone Democrats, and I do a lot of work with the Jewish Youth Climate Movement. So lots of activist-y spaces with high schoolers, and I just love working with my peers, and that connection we build together is super empowering, and I think is a good energy to have for the future.
Absolutely. Awesome.
It was beautiful.
Yes, amazing. So hello, everyone. My name is Brady Graham. I am a rising senior as well from Boone High School. I know Stephanie Vanos through her school board campaign, where I canvassed for her and engaged with her campaign in many ways to help get her elected into her seat, which I am so happy to have.
Yay.
Snaps to you. So I am the secretary of the Boone Democrats. I'm the development director of the Florida High School Democrats. And I'm also an intern through OCPS with the Bright Minds Business Leaders. So what we do there is we lead a team of cohorts and we discuss professionalism, how to do an engaging and professional business proposal and slide deck. And from that, we foster creativity and the sense of engaging yourself with your community to solve a socioeconomic way through a nonprofit, which I really love seeing this combined between a corporation or this organization and its direct impact on our society and local communities.
We have such smart, ambitious young folks on our podcast.
I know. I'm pretty sure at that age, I'd be like, I'm Stephanie and I'm babysitting this summer.
I was working at Chuck E. Cheese when I was your age, so... Not that there's anything wrong when working at Chuck E. Cheese. Who knows how many listeners we have who work at Chuck E. Cheese.
No, great place.
My sister at a party there was awesome.
Should we record from Chuck E. Cheese? Should that be?
I'm so down. We could do where they launch all the money or tokens in there. Just in there, I'll report actively how many tokens I got. I am sorry, but I will smoke you all. I know the tactics.
I believe it.
I feel intimidated.
Maybe we'll have to check it out and see. I don't know. The pizza's not great, but the games will be fun.
The pizza's actually better than you think it is.
Well,
I
I've
think.
had it, so
Okay. Wait, is that your lived experience?
that's my lived experience, and you can't take it away from me.
Okay. Well, we're so grateful to have both of you. I don't know if you are necessarily our first Gen Z guests, but nonetheless, I wanted to start with an opening statement. Steph, is it all right if I clear out and make a little statement?
Make your statement.
All right. This podcast is entering its Gen Z era. I would like this conversation to be totally based and free of cap. Steph and I are going to give each of you an opportunity to cook, to bring your main character energy. We want you both to eat and leave no crumbs. So we're counting on both of you to stand on business. It's giving permissive. So by the end of this episode, we want people to say, this podcast understood the assignment.
That was amazing.
We will do our best to live up to your standards. We're gonna
I feel as though you've already exceeded them.
leave no crumbs, not even the mic. I mean,
I love it. I love it.
Okay, and can I go home now? I did
Congratulations.
my work today.
Awesome. All right. So do we want to start? Let's start with some current events. So what happened last night?
Zohan Mamdani won the Democratic primary for the New York City mayoral race.
Woo.
Yeah, this was the epitome of a grassroots movement. And, you know, I've been kind of following along because I have a lot of friends who live in New York or in New Jersey, so really close and involved in the city. And I just saw one of his videos on my Instagram. I'm like, this is the most cool, hip campaign video I've ever seen in my entire life. And so I just started following along. And even though he identifies as a democratic socialist, I felt like a lot of his views were what is necessary in this political time, especially with all of the damage the Trump administration's doing. And so, but yeah, he started out with 2% chance of winning against Andrew Cuomo, and now he won. And I was just in complete shock. And I was just I cried because I was so happy, because the contrast between this win last night and Kamala Harris's loss in the November 2024 election, it was just so uplifting. And I felt so hopeful again for the future of our party, because living in Florida, Democrats don't win a lot, unfortunately. And that's a really big problem we're facing, and Florida Democrats are struggling to figure out. And so I think we definitely need to take some plays out of his playbook and integrate them into Florida politics, even though, of course, New York's one of the most progressive cities in our nation. But I think the message and the optimism conveyed through his campaign is absolutely necessary in all Democrats' campaigns. And we need people who are unapologetic and bold about their stances and will communicate what they'll do for their constituents.
I love that. And a couple of the words you used were cool and hip, which I catches my ear, because I think that is important, because there are obviously a lot of great policies that he is introducing in part of his platform, but he also really gives off this energy that you just want to be a part of. And I think it's both those things. It's giving that energy, but also having the policy to back it up that speaks to what, progressives and young voters, care about. Brady, what do you think?
Yeah, so I completely agree with you. I found out about Mamdani through Instagram. I found one of his videos. It was one where he talked about how he didn't need any more finances. He started it with a great hook, tied it into how he wants volunteers. He wants that grassroots effort. And I love that message, especially with the Democratic Party. We're the party of the people. So when we get our voters and our constituents involved with campaigns, that's when I know that the Democratic Party is doing something right. Because you're getting the direct representation, which that's the whole purpose of a representative democracy. So thank you for the snaps. So it was after that video that I watched where I kind of engaged with the whole election a bit more. I learned about how Andrew Cuomo, he was also running for re-election, right?
Or he was governor and then now was running for mayor.
So yeah, I do not know a lot about New York politics, but yeah, I love the direction that he's going. I think here in Orlando, we have some great examples of politicians with grassroots efforts. We have Maxwell, Escamani, Vanos even. She got me.
Yeah.
So yeah, all of these campaigns that we're seeing this engagement, and those are the successful campaigns. When we have the backing of the people, that's when we really get the energy and we get the votes. So I love seeing that message nationwide. You know, we live in this haven of Orlando, and now seeing it in New York and slowly expanding, it's a great omen to see for the Democratic Party.
And can I just add that the campaigns you were talking about, Rep. Frost, Rep. Escamani, and Member Vanos, they don't take corporate money. And I think that was something that set mayoral Democratic elect, I don't know how to Assemblyman Mamdani apart, is that he fundraised his way through this election. And I think the statistic was Cuomo spent 400% more on his campaign because he was funded by billionaires. And young people, that's who we saw like continually turning out to this election, are tired of big money in politics. And even though he had like significantly less money to work with, it just showed that I think this next generation of Democrats who will be voting in 2028, Brady and I will be voting for the first time, is that we're tired of big money in politics and we want people who advocate for us.
I love that. And maybe you already said it, but if you were, you know, in Washington, D.C., in the Chairman Ken Martin's office or Nikki Fried's office, and you know, just having watched Mamdani get elected, what would you say to them? Like, you know, what would be your message?
Pay attention.
I love that.
No, that's great. I think just continue where they're going. You know, don't waver when it comes to your beliefs. And I love seeing the authenticity of his campaign. That may have set him back to say that he's a democratic socialist, but that's what he believes. And when somebody sticks to his beliefs as strongly as him, that's what I would like to see in a politician that represents his constituents.
Well, it's funny. We were just talking to Representative Escamani, and that is one of the things she said is that she feels that one of the reasons she's been able to build such a strong kind of coalition and following is because she's very vocal about where she stands, and she's not afraid to get it out there and to share it, knowing that some people will disagree with her, but that even if maybe you disagree about something, you can appreciate a politician who has an opinion and is not afraid to put it out there.
Yeah, definitely. I went door to door for Rep. Escamani when she was running for re-election in 2024. And the amount of like Republicans I encountered who said, I love her. Just because I feel like even though maybe on some things we don't agree, she fights for me and she's done great work in Orlando. She shows up. And that's what's most important. And actually, I was just watching the interview on the late night show with Stephen Colbert with Brad Lander and Zohan Mamdani. And Mr. Mamdani, he's like, it was some politician, he said a quote, it's like, if you agree with me on 9 out of 12 issues, vote for me.
Yeah.
If you agree with me on 12 out of 12 issues, see a psychiatrist.
I love that. I love that.
I think in the like polarized state that our politics are in right now, we have to be able to help, like in a healthy way, disagree with our politicians, but still recognize the work they do for us.
For sure.
No purity tests. Right. I mean, meaning that like you shouldn't have to agree with every single thing. Like if you agree with, you know, every single party statement, like there is probably something wrong with you. There, you know, you should be critically thinking about everything. And I think that's important. And so it sounds kind of what you're saying is that what resonates with you in a candidate is desire to be connected to community, grassroots, of having positions that you're putting out there. And I don't know, did you think there was something about the way in which he sort of ran his campaign, like the video style, the kind of less formal, was that something that you liked?
I think a lot of his content was, as his whole campaign was that authentic, very straight with the audience, telling them what he needs and how to best engage with his campaign. So I remember a clip of him in the mayoral debate where they asked about Israel. I know that clip, it went around a lot because he was the only one who said that he would stay in New York. He wouldn't go to Israel for any foreign affair reasons. And he believes that his time and his effort should be to the New York people. So I really like that message of being there for the constituents. On top of what you were saying about him being connected with his community, I think above anything for a representative, I want someone who has a growth mindset and is empathetic to every single person they represent. Because when you're able to listen to people and understand what they're going through, that's when you change your beliefs, and that's when you should change your beliefs and better fit your beliefs to what your constituents believe. So when we're talking about a representative democracy, I think oftentimes we think a 50% majority, but when you have a single representative that listens to every single constituent and they genuinely listen to them and change their votes. And, when public comment's there, you can so often see the different representatives and whether they're really paying attention or if they're just on their phone. And those aren't the people that I like. Those aren't the people that I want representing me. I want a representative that will listen to every single constituent and change their beliefs and change the vote that they're going to make to better reflect the interests of every single person they represent.
Yeah.
People over politics.
Yeah. And also one thing about his videos is he had the same message in every one. Like, I started following him like a couple months ago. I have his campaign spiel memorized at this point just because I'm scrolling on Instagram, right? And one of his reels pops up and it's like, I want to make buses fast and free. I want to freeze the rent. I want to make groceries affordable. And it's just, that's the same clear message. Is there a little bit of don't rank Andrew Cuomo in there? Yeah. All of the progressive candidates had that. But I felt like it was so different from the presidential election in 2024 because it kind of felt all over the place with Biden dropping out, Harris replacing him. She had to throw together a campaign in only a couple months. This felt really thought out, really straightforward, straight to the point. And I feel like it resonated with the current political times. And I think that's what set him apart.
Okay, so given that this is, we like to talk about education things here.
Why do we think that is? Did we just hem ourselves in with our name and now we just feel like we need to talk about education?
I mean, education is, everyone should have a stake in strong public schools, Eddie.
Well,
and education is the future of our of our communities and our economy. And so, yeah.
This is all we talk about, even when we're not on mic. Is literally 70% of our conversations is just this phrase repeated over. No, I'm sorry. I interrupted you because I'm rude. So please go ahead.
So I just wanted to ask you all. I mean, sometimes I'm sitting up there on the dais and we have people present to us about this or that or the other thing. And sometimes in my brain, I think, well, if students were paying attention to this school board meeting, I wonder what they would be saying. I wonder if they would find anything that we're talking about relevant to what they're doing in school. So, and I mean, I say that with respect. I appreciate OCPS. I think there's a lot of great people who are working really, really hard to make our schools the best that they can be. But I'm interested in what you have to say. So I don't know. Let's just put it out there. Like, if you had to pick your top 3 sort of issues in school or education that you're paying attention to, that you care about, that make you pay attention, what would those 3 things be?
Oh, I know mine.
Okay. All right, go for it, Brady.
Top 1, I think teacher retention.
Yep.
I believe that too often I am hearing from teachers saying, I can't sustain my family on this income, or I can't deal with the politics that has entered into our school system and made my life harder, or I can't deal with the admin that are having to breathe down my neck. And no hate to the Boone admin, we love you. But it's just, there are so many so many things that these teachers are having to go through that it's just not feasible for them with their already super strenuous workloads. I feel bad for them, really, when it comes to grading, giving students advice. Like, we forget all of the roles that teachers play.
Yeah.
They're therapists. Yeah. Oftentimes they act like our parents, they're mentors. So when you forget about that, you often overload them, and that's not how we're going to have successful public schooling. So number 1, teacher retention. I want our good senior teachers staying, and I want new teachers to come in. So that's definitely my number 1. Hope, do you want to go?
That's one of my top 3, definitely. So we're on the same wavelength. Censorship in our schools, definitely. And the the curriculum that the Florida Department of Education writes. Because when I talked to my friends in Massachusetts, I was having a conversation with my friend. She lives in Northampton, Massachusetts, and she goes to public school. She's in the public school system. She said, Hope, what should I take for social studies next year? Women's studies, genocide studies,
Oh my gosh.
war studies,
Wow.
or AP World History. And I'm like, you have that option, And even it's just like, I took a bunch of AP classes this year, and for every single one, a permission slip went home that said, your child's teacher can teach what is necessary because this wasn't written by Florida. Don't blame Florida.
Oh my
You're taking
goodness.
all the liability off of Florida. So if they talk about an LGBTQ plus teenager, you can't come for us. And I'm like, we should be teaching this in all classrooms. And why is this only limited to AP classes, which is inaccessible for a lot of kids for a variety of reasons. So the banning of certain classes like AP African American Studies, I would be signing up for that class in a heartbeat if I had the ability to take it. And they took away AP Psychology for a year. And even we took AP Psychology this year, and that lesson that they were like nervous about, our teacher barely even taught it and it's not required by the College Board anymore to teach.
The year that they took it away, actually, I tried to take it on FLVS, and I found it so funny. They got me through like the first steps, but I wasn't actually able to take it because we live in Florida. But I looked at the section that was based off of this gender identity, sexual orientation, less than like a paragraph.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Oh my God.
Wow.
And you're taking away all of this opportunity, all of this college credit. So it ties into finances for these families. And you're taking that away because of the super, super short section. And it's just irrational to me. Who are you putting first in this case? Are you putting the students first, or are you putting your agenda first?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm so glad you brought, so I want to dig into both of those, but I'm so glad, I'll start with Hope just on the censorship. A lot of people I think are kind of saying, oh, well, these are just culture war issues and they're not really important and we shouldn't really be wasting our time on them. But when I hear from you, these things have real impacts to real students in real schools. And I just think that's such an important point. And it's interesting when you talk about your friend from Massachusetts, who I assume is in public school there also.
Yes, public school.
Yeah. And just that we are limiting the opportunities for our kids.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask. You two are obviously very intelligent, very engaged. And obviously classes being banned affects everyone. But how common is this sentiment that the two of you have? Not that like I'm just curious. Are students who maybe are less engaged like feel this or express these sorts of sentiments?
I think it's hard to observe because like we've known nothing else. And so when you're not tuned into politics, which is like teenagers shouldn't have to worry about this, like full stop.
Yeah.
So we can't blame them for not being involved or attentive to politics. And I've been in the public school system my whole life in Florida. We've known nothing else. And if it wasn't for like my outside organizations where I get to know people from the whole entire country, I wouldn't know that that's being offered. And so it's really hard. And I also think a big problem in our schools is having student attention and engaging students, because again, these teachers are under so much pressure and they just want to get through the day. And that harms both teachers and students, and it's not fair. So I would say kids just don't know any other world. And that's really disappointing.
I think there has been more engagement throughout the years, though.
Yeah.
I think as it's become more apparent, so when psychology was taken away, every single person in that class knew the reason behind it, and they formulated an opinion on it. So I don't think any student, if you go to Boone High School, doesn't have an opinion on book banning. That's such a headline issue that every single student is going to have some form of opinion on that. And I also think even in our classrooms, we will sometimes see, or actually every single language arts class, they're going to have a sign on their bookcases saying, these are not for public use.
Yeah.
They're just,
Wait,
So-
what?
Yes, there was.
Oh, yeah, you didn't know
Our
this?
AP English language teacher, she had like a sign on the bookshelf, and it's like educator only, not for student use. And some of them were like textbooks. It's like, I don't want to read that. But some of them, it was like which one was it? Emma by Jane Austen. And she's like, oh, I have a copy that I can give to you. And she like went on her like not for student checkout book. I'm like, this is a classic. Like this is because she saw me reading Pride and Prejudice, and she was like, here, let me, or what, no, the Scarlet Letter. Sorry. She's like, I can get you a copy of the Scarlet Letter. And it was and I'm like, this is why aren't we reading this? This is just really bad. And
I remember the day that our teacher put that sign up, I talked to her, and it was obviously a sad day that she had to put that sign up because we just discussed it. And as I mentioned earlier, these teachers are sick of it.
Yeah.
They don't want to limit a student from exploring the world of literature that they're interested in by putting up a sign and saying, sorry, whatever Republican lawmaker is up above you doesn't know anything about students' experiences.
Yeah.
Whatever they're saying actually dictates what you can read and what you can absorb in your public education.
And a lot of these lawmakers don't have kids in public school.
Right.
And it's like, how can you govern on something you don't know? It's like, it's just mind-boggling. I don't get it. It's just extremely frustrating. And I'm really, really nervous because we're going to be taking AP English Literature next year. And while it is an AP class, I don't know what they're going to do. I genuinely don't.
So it sounds like there is some self-censorship, kind of soft censorship, kind of happening at school, whether it's through maybe what teachers talk about or books. And there's, do you get that feeling?
Yeah, definitely. It's mostly in AP English language because we're talking about hard things in that class. And that's the point of the class, is to analyze rhetoric and analyze arguments. And a lot of that comes from politics. We analyze a speech by Michelle Obama. We analyze a speech by Madeleine Albright. And so politics are just a natural part of that class. And our teachers like, off the record, or I'm not telling you an opinion on this. I'm just saying what is happening. And it's very much like, scared, like she's scared to speak freely, and that's really alarming as a student because we learn truth from our teachers, and if they are afraid to speak it, how are we supposed to learn it?
Well, Steph, I feel like you talk so much about this culture of fear that has been created in the state, and I have thought about it when you talk about it as other elected officials or school board members or librarians, and I hadn't really extended it to teachers and educators and students, and what a shame.
Yeah. Well, and to your point, Brady, if a teacher feels that, he or she is under watch, or that that they're limited into what they can say and can't say, and what might a parent say, and do we have a permission slip for this, and am I allowed to show this film, or am I allowed to read this book? It makes it so that, some of them, I think they are leaving for that reason. And have you experienced, I know you've said that teacher retention is a concern of yours. Have you experienced teachers leaving, while you are, during the year or throughout your years in high school? Have you noticed an uptick in that since leaving elementary school and middle school?
I remember freshman year, there was an English teacher, not one of mine, but a lot of my friends were in that class, and they told me throughout the year about how all of these subs came in. I think one of the teachers kept on falling asleep in class, and that was a whole debacle. But yeah, I have experienced it, and I've heard testimonies from a lot of students who've also experienced it. So no single student has not had a time where they've had a teacher out on leave or quit mid-year because of some political, often financial, or I think oftentimes it's literally just the workload and realizing there's other opportunities for them that's going to make them way better off financially, emotionally, when it comes to all the stress. And not even right now, but even for the future, when you see that for the next 3 years, we're going to be more than 3 years, we're going to be subject to Donald Trump and whatever he believes, although I don't even know where the Department of Education has gone. So
you're not alone.
Yeah. So I don't know what his next steps are. He's so erratic that the best plan for a lot of teachers is just leaving and trying to find another industry to engage themselves in. And these are professionals in these fields. So our calculus teacher, it's not like she can only get a job teaching calculus. She can go out and she can use those skills for being a professor at Valencia, which she already is.
Yeah.
And I think that's often too common as well, about how teachers, because of the pay, have to take up other jobs to better support their families or continue out whatever lifestyle they want to.
Also, it's not just like ELA teachers. I know I've noticed, and we've been talking a lot about ELA teachers, which is very valid because what they teach is the most under attack. But in 8th grade, I had a math teacher who was Muslim, and she was one of the best teachers that I ever had. Super, super passionate woman. And I'm not the biggest fan of math. She made me excited to go to math class, which is a pretty big feat. And some kids were not doing well in her class because they weren't doing their homework, because they weren't studying. And the parents were just like racist to her, period. And so she eventually, she's like, I can't take it anymore. It's too much stress on me. It's too much stress on my family. And she left. And we were left with an administrator who had to teach us for 3 weeks, which she was great. She did her best. And I did well in the class. But that's not fair on the administrator. It's not fair on the teacher. It's not fair on the new teacher who has to come in halfway through the year and prepare us for the EOC, which we have to pass to graduate high school.
Right, because you were in middle school, but it was a high school class you were taking.
Yes. And so that's a lot of stress on literally every single person in that class. And it was all rooted in this bigotry, which I think is becoming too common in education.
Yeah, I think teachers it just sounds like they have just stress coming from so many different places, financial stress, sort of the fear, but then also just the stress of overwhelming and micromanaging and more papers and work to do. So, man, it's a big, there's a lot. There's a lot there.
Yeah.
I'm curious, what else we talked about censorship, we talked about teacher retention. Was there anything else y'all had on your list?
I had a last one of school vouchers.
Oh, yeah.
So
Let's
I
talk
think
about
that
this.
this is, I think, the most invisible issue that's affecting public schooling, but also one of the most significant.
Yeah.
So when it comes to vouchers, for any listener who doesn't know what they are, so when a student is not interested in public schooling, them or their parent, they're able to decide that they want to go to a private school, whether that be a Christian private school or one that is for mental health reasons, or maybe they have physical disabilities that need to be beneficial for them with specific resources. So what they do is they talk to the state and they get some subsidy or some money to help facilitate a transfer of schools for them to better get their education. So what's
better, perhaps in quotes.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. So that brings me to my next point of a lot of these are not really going to the people that it was intended for, which is for those people with the disabilities of mental, physical, and they need those added resources. They're going to these people who want to fulfill some agenda for their kids or have this certain opinion that public education is indoctrinating and they need to be put into private education. So now public school dollars are being set aside for these people to go to these schools that are not public. And it's weird to say that these public school dollars, and we're struggling so much with teacher pay and all of these issues that can be solved with more money. But no, we're giving that money to people who aren't in public education.
Yeah.
So that has led to so many dollars being lost from every single school. I know Hope and I's school has lost more than $3 million a year to that. And we're struggling to find a consistent AP Gov teacher and AP Physics teacher. So how can you, I believe it was Ron DeSantis that allowed these vouchers to be used for private education when it comes to a certain Christian or religiously related schools. So how are you putting your public school students first when you're putting all this money into people to go to these places for no good reason other than they don't believe in public education? It's weird. So maybe it's a self-fulfilling prophecy that they don't believe in public education because we don't have the money to support it. And I think I'll leave with that, because when we don't have the money, you can't foster a successful education or a successful environment to educate your students.
And my dad sent me an article. Some of these vouchers go to homeschooled students, and they're spending them on Disney tickets as an educational expense. And it's like, I don't think that's how it works. And to Brady's point, a lot of these are religious schools. And thank God they didn't, but they almost slashed the funding for advanced classes in half to put more money into these vouchers. I'm so thankful they didn't. But the fact that I had to be calling my representatives and saying, like, I'm in AP classes. We need this money. I promise you it's going to good use. But they're scared. They're scared of those advanced classes because those advanced classes teach the truth, and they don't want kids knowing the truth, because when they know the truth, they won't support what they're doing. And so when you put more money into these schools that teach a watered down version of whatever they're teaching and not the whole and entire truth, which the rest of the nation's learning, because it's a standard curriculum for all AP and IB and whatever classes, they're scared of that. And so I think that's why they're taking money away from it.
Steph, when you think of taxpayer money that was intended for public schools going to people going to Disney, how does that make you feel?
So mad. So mad. I can't even. But I am so impressed that I just want to say we did not have a conversation with them before this about taxpayer-funded vouchers. This was just an issue that you have discovered on your own. And both of you, I'm just so... I don't know. I was not that in touch with what was going on in the world when I was in high school. That's for sure.
Y'all are so thoughtful.
I know, so thoughtful, and just the way that you see the relationship between sort of the funding being pulled from public education to go to these private institutions that we don't even really know what they're spending money on to that end because it's not public information.
Fast passes.
There you go, fast passes. And then you see the impacts in your school, and I think that's what's so powerful. It's like we can talk about it and how it's wrong, but you as students saying, no, like we see this. We see our teachers leaving because we're not able to pay them what they deserve. We see, again, teachers leaving because they're overworked because they don't have the support that they need, maybe another person helping, or whatever it is, that you see that. Like you see that on the ground, and that you can kind of tie that in, I think is so powerful.
Thank you.
Yeah. And I think it's a real problem how little people know about this.
Yeah. And it's also, I just wanted to talk about this for a little bit. It's also apparent in our honors classes because honors and regular classes are the curriculum's written by the Florida Department of Education. And U.S. history is a required class to graduate. Good. I'm in full support of that, whether it be AP, honors, regular, whatever, it's a required class. And to graduate, you need to take the U.S. history EOC. I took AP U.S. history online, but I still was required to take the EOC, again, to get the graduation credit. And what I loved about AP is while they could have done more, but I'll give them credit where credit is due. We learned about Native Americans in certain American times. We learned about women. We learned about people of color. We learned about Black people, especially with slavery. Our nation was founded upon slavery and racism. And that's something that needs to be acknowledged. No matter your political beliefs, that's just the cold hard truth. And that's something we need to work to overcome. And so, again, I took this U.S. History EOC written by the Florida Department of Education after taking AP College Board written tests from the whole school year. And there was almost nothing on the Civil War, slavery, Reconstruction.
Wow.
There were probably 5 questions out of it. Oh, you didn't take it.
No, I didn't.
It was 5 questions out of 55. And there were 10 questions on the Washington Naval Conference where they I was like, I don't even know what this is. And then I used context clues and I figured it out. It was about how the U.S. promised to limit their arms after World War II so that there wouldn't be another World War. I'm like, yes, this is important, but also where's this whole major part of our nation going in this history, and what are they teaching in these classes? Because Florida has no checks or balances on what they write. They will, if it gets too outrageous, but it was scary. I closed the test. I'm like, this was propaganda, I think, because there was because it was so much about U.S. militarism and the U.S. military. I'm like, yes, we should acknowledge it. We should acknowledge these world wars, the Great Depression, again, huge moments in our nation's history. But arguably a bigger moment was when we had slavery for more than half of our nation's existence, and segregation and Jim Crow laws. Like, where is this going and why aren't we talking about it? That was just really scary to me.
That's so interesting. So that the curriculum from the AP differs so much from the curriculum that is written by the state of Florida.
Yeah. And what's also scary is like a lot of people didn't know like Miranda v. Arizona. And I'm like, and even in AP. And I'm like, okay, so those are like our rights. We should probably put a bigger emphasis on that. And I just feel like the things that could be deemed political are being taken out of our history, which is the opposite of what needs to be happening.
Hear, hear.
Yeah. How do we get better? How do we not make the same mistakes again if we don't understand them and understand how we came to them and learn
We
to be
elect
better?
people like Stephanie Venice.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Like, it truly really is only a matter of time until the stolen 2020 election becomes part of curriculum.
yeah.
Like, I mean, and that's absolutely where we're headed, is just a near complete rewrite of U.S. history
Yes.
as written by conservative conspiracy theorists and Donald Trump's vision of what America is. It's very scary. I do not envy being young and going through school when that much history. Not that I was absorbing so much. I was not always the most studious.
Did you always attend class?
Well, let's say that for another podcast about my childhood trauma.
Maybe when Brady can talk about it.
But to the fact that you, on top of studying and just being young and being a teenager and like also having to contend with like your curriculum being bizarrely fucked up because of political considerations from DeSantis and Republicans is very tough, and I don't envy it.
Did you want to
Can I curse on the podcast?
I don't know. I was like, oh, he said the F word for the first time. I don't know.
I think it's because there's kids here and I'm trying to pretend like I'm cool.
Well, I don't know how they didn't think that after your opening statement. I mean, that was pretty clear that you were cool. Yeah.
Devouring.
Okay, so there was one other question that we had that we wanted to ask. So it's not really political, but do you want to talk about it? Because you've mentioned it before.
About AI.
Yeah.
Oh.
Okay, so this is a hobby horse of mine that Steph and I talk about a lot, and I've been thinking about, and I know it's brought up a lot in the district, but AI in schools and students' use of AI, and this is a place of no judgment. But I'm curious about how much AI is in schools, how much students are using AI, how much teachers are using AI. I'm curious, and again, like, you also don't have to out yourself if you're.
Oh no, I'm out of myself. So, oh
Go
gosh,
for
Hope
it.
is pointing at me.
I love this.
Hope and I have very different views on.
Yeah.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
With
I have some
AI.
strong opinions, but go ahead.
Conflict is
So-
good for podcasts. This is great.
I am a computer science guy. I love coding. I started off my high school career with going into computer science principles, which is an AP level class. And now I'm dual enrolling classes on that called discrete structures and data structures and algorithms. Don't even ask me what those mean, but I'll tell you in a year. So I use AI a lot, not to plagiarize or anything. So OCPS, don't get me. But
I represent the people and I work for the people.
so the main use of AI that I find myself using is in studying and in just preparation for exams. So for AP exams, I know my AP statistics teacher, he gave us this resource. It's called like Note or something. So it's a random resource on the internet. It's gained some traction with a lot of students, but it's this AI tool that helps you, and it's fed all of the curriculum of every single AP course because that's standardized across the nation. And it gives you practice problems, practice full-length exams, literally every single thing you can use to study for these AP exams. And it is my favorite thing. Oh my gosh. I use that for every single one of my exams. It was truly, truly so helpful. And I think on top of that, just throughout the year, I used ChatGPT. I fed it in some of the information of whatever my test was going to be on, or maybe it's a paper that I want some refining. I gave it that, and it fed me back whatever I needed. And it makes stuff just so much more efficient. So I truly like it for the efficiency. Personally, I will recognize that environmentally,
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I was going to talk about.
That's the main concern I would have with it, but sadly I still do use it. And I like it as a resource.
Yeah. Cool. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
I hate AI. So I know you get to hear the pro and you get to hear the con.
I love it.
So I have a lot of opinions about AI. The way Brady uses it, I think is great. I think studying, my New Year's resolution was to not use ChatGPT. I think this shows how much I hate AI. But when 2024, I would give ChatGPT my notes for AP psychology, and I'd be like, give me 10 practice problems. And I got like an A on that test. That helped me a lot. Also, there's this YouTuber named Heimler. He's really helpful with the AP histories. And there's like a SAQ workshop where it's like, you can put in your essay and he'll grade it on the AP rubric. That's really helpful. I think that's great. But it's like, I think that AI is like making us dumber, like genuinely. I saw an Instagram post just for like a little joke. It's like, I asked the birds what they think of AI and they said it can never recreate the human beauty. It's like, I'm like, yes, I love it. It's terrible for the environment. That's my main reason I didn't want to use ChatGPT, is because it takes about 1 bottle of water. If you say like hi to ChatGPT, it takes 1 bottle of water to cool it off after you ask it like
That's
one
wild.
response.
Wow.
It's so bad for the environment. And also, just in conjunction, what we've been talking about is this kind of reduction of our standards at our schools and AI in conjunction with each other. Students are missing out on just the core values of learning. And instead of like when we have like, oh, you have to write this research paper, they just use AI and the AI writes it for them. And it's like, how does that benefit you in the long run? And I think it's just making students less accountable and lazier. I know that's kind of mean and harsh, but my opinion is that the reason we go to school is to learn how to function in society. And if you are not learning what school is trying to teach you, you're gonna have a hard time once you enter the workforce, once you enter college, once you enter whatever adventure you're going into. I think efficiency and this essence of convenience is really bad for humans, and it's only getting worse as we have laptops more available and phones more available and everything's just going faster and faster and faster. And it's like, can we slow down? we can take time and effort into things. And people make taking time and putting effort into something is a bad thing. And I really just think that's the complete opposite of what we should be learning.
Mm-hmm. And I think especially as students, I agree with that point, because when you're in education, you're trying to develop those soft skills. So even beyond just writing, when I can go on Google, ask any question and instantly get an AI response, it completely takes away all research abilities that you're learning through that. You know, I can ask ChatGPT for my research paper, hey, can you provide me some research papers just that would help me prove whatever point I'm trying to make, or have a healthy discussion between different literature just on a topic, and it will just super quick give me those resources. So I think what I'm trying to say here is, when you're taking away this opportunity to research and other soft skills as well, so learning how to effectively study, everybody has a different study style. I think ChatGPT, when I use it to study, I think it's pretty helpful because I do the same thing that Hope did in 2024, practice questions after practice questions, but also just like flashcards. I think it's the process of making those are something often overlooked. And when we just have AI to do it for us, I mean, it's more efficient, but you have to be missing out on something from it. So yeah, I think AI, it definitely has its pros and cons. And I like this healthy debate we're having.
Well, are you ready for my super deep and philosophical take?
Please.
Yeah, do it.
I think that AI, what Brady was talking about, the can you help me prove my point for my research paper, is leading to confirmation bias in our society and polarization in our society. And I think this is not only a problem with AI, I think this is also one of my criticisms of the AP curriculum. Because in a lot of the the literature and social sciences classes in AP, it's these essays where you're given sources and you have to argue a point based on the sources you're given. And a lot of the times the counter argument or the kind of nuance is just the extra point that you don't have to get, and it's like, so we're looking for sources that only confirm our point and we're ignoring the ones that kind of argue against it. This sounds a bit too familiar. And when we're doing other research papers in classes that maybe aren't AP classes, and it's like, just argue your point. it's like, okay, so I'm arguing my point and I'm using these sources, but there are sources that are going to disagree with me and we're just ignoring them. And I think that's not healthy, and that doesn't lead to critical thinking, which every person needs and the skills to do. And I think that's why we're in the political state we're in right now, this polarized state, is because people only want to listen to what they think is right. And, you know, sometimes I like see Fox News on the TV. I'm like, ugh. But then I'm like, oh, Pete Buttigieg goes on Fox News because he wants to know what they're thinking. And I think that's so important and something we're slowly missing out on in society. And maybe AI is to blame for that. I don't know.
No, I think it's definitely a contributing factor.
Oh, look at that healthy discussion, healthy disagreement. I love it. They're such great points. And so, you know, I've brought that question up to my girls, and it's, you know, some of them are like, oh my gosh, AI is cheating. Like, we can't do anything with AI. But it does sound like there are some really valid things you can use it for studying. But then I love your point, Hope, about, is efficiency always the goal? Because we're sort of setting it up as though it is. And is it?
I don't think so. I know. Okay, so this is going to go into like economic theory and late stage capitalism, and we don't have to go into that. But it's like right now I feel like our society is at a point where it's like we just want to be as productive as possible no matter what it takes. And I think humans aren't supposed to live that way. It's really, yeah, it's just like, it's really frustrating because, of course, like I want to get my homework done as fast as possible and watch all the Modern Family I want to watch, you know, but I really think there's something to say and to taking your time with your homework and putting thought into what you're doing and putting a lot of effort into it, you know, instead of just like, oh, just going to cross off my to-do list, Like, I think that doesn't teach as strong of a lesson as taking the time to sit down and study does, or taking the time to make flashcards. And a lot of the time I feel frustrated because I feel like I'm taking all these advanced classes and yet I'm still just like not good enough, you know, whether it be for college admissions or it's like whatever the case is, my classmates doing better than me. And I'm like, but I put in all this work. And my dad always tells me, he's like, well, you're learning from that. You're learning from all this work you put in. You're learning from all the days you spent doing 5 hours of homework, you know, or whatever. Taking the time to do your best, make sure it's your best effort, studying, taking the time, and that's where the lessons come from. You know, sometimes your grades don't reflect that, but I think it's the delayed gratification of, okay, I studied really hard and maybe I studied for 5 hours, but my friend who studied for 1 hour and we got the same grade. But I felt I got more out of that 5-hour study session than maybe they did out of that 1-hour study session.
Right. And what you learn doesn't go away, right?
Yeah.
You always have it. It's kind of like,
right.
Or, you know, I think sometimes when I'm like training for a race and then you have a bad race, well, all of that training doesn't just go away.
Exactly.
It's all adding, it's building a foundation and you build upon it.
I personally hate delayed gratification.
This is another part where we
Instant
disagree.
gratification.
I need instant gratification. I need dopamine at all times, every single second of my life. So
I'm on my phone right now just scrolling Instagram during this conversation.
So I will agree with you that in education, the level of efficiency that we look for, it's completely unhealthy. I think what we need to recognize is some nuance. I hope you get
Yeah.
It's all connected.
Yep.
So what I think of AI in is this more techie side of using it in science or other like more technical fields. So when AI is going into these fields and revolutionizing what we're able to do, whether that be just cleaning data or completely innovating like our fundamental beliefs and questioning them and just forcing us to progress, I think that's when I love AI the most, because it's forcing that progression. And as a Democrat, I love progress. So
Look at him bringing it all back right there. Yeah.
So yeah, when I think of it like a Silicon Valley kind of way, we're getting the tech.
Brady's gonna work in Silicon Valley. My word.
And Hope's going to be so mad about it, I feel like. She's
No,
going to be so mad.
Technology is good when it's limited, in my opinion.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Yeah.
So there's a course at Stanford University. My brother's currently studying out there, and it's called Symbolic Systems. Stanford admissions people, if you hear this, please let me in. So it's this major, and it talks about the mixture between technology and philosophy, and it discusses how technology can be used in the best way to benefit humans and lead us to progress as mankind and see our technology benefit us to the best of its abilities. So oftentimes we think that technology, just as it progresses, will continuously help people more and more. But now with climate change and so many things that we're realizing that may not be the case after the Industrial Revolution, we have to take a step back. We have to look at this dynamically, and we have to think, how is AI being used, and is it ethical how we're using it? So, I mean, with Tesla, I think one of the talking points of this is like Tesla and its automatic driving with AI. And then you encounter the trolley problem, and do you hit a baby or a grandma?
Yeah,
it's hard
neither
decision.
Can I pick neither?
You hit the brakes.
My one of my favorite teachers ever, shout out Mr. Leatherwood, teaches AP World History. And he was like, I think we got too much of technology too fast, you know, because like once like the computer was invented and then the iPhone was invented, it's like these are such powerful tools that we have that can be used for so much good. But we got them and we were like, oh, what do we do with this? I don't know what to do. And so people just like went crazy, like the black market, and then social media, you know, like people just can basically just say whatever they want now. And that's good and bad, you know, in its own ways. There's some nuance to that. But what really, I think, technology just takes us away from the present moment. And this was more of a spiritual thing, but with my work with the Jewish climate movement, they brought in a guest speaker talking about how we should be living with the earth and its seasons, and how when the earth is in the harvest, we should be working, but then when we need time to cool down, it was a very spiritual experience. And I was kind of taken aback. And while maybe I don't agree with it fully, I recognize the importance of we're still part of nature. We're still part of this earth. And I feel like when we have technology that's so unnatural, right? We forget our humanity. And that's a problem I don't think we've been addressing enough.
I think that's beautifully said. And I could not agree more. I have not unleashed my technology has ruined everything take, but I do have that. I agree with that take. And I think there's a lot of that I agree with, that our entire lives now exist on phones and on screens, and we're always being watched, and we always want others to watch us. And how does that make our own existence toxic and constantly stressful and constantly addicting, et cetera, et cetera? But
so we gotta build a village, and I feel like we're doing that too. Build a village, you know, in person, and like that's actually where some of the most fulfilling, you know, connections come from. But it sounds like when it comes to AI and education, it's just from both of you. What I'm hearing is we just need thoughtful conversations about it, and you know, be just what's the word? I'm tip of the tongue. Yeah. What's the word?
Judicious.
Be judicious. Be open-minded, and just really think about what we're doing before we just unleash. And this sounds like a joke because I do make a lot of jokes, but I am actually not open-minded. I think it is like incredibly dangerous, and I think it is taking, like, if I was given AI, ChatGPT, et cetera, when I was in school, like I absolutely would have used it to make my life easier, because like I did not understand, Hope, what you articulated so well, which is what you are actually doing is you are thinking through things and figuring out how to solve and how to reason, and that skill pays off in dividends in life, because who cares what homework you finish or what essay you write? It's probably terrible. Yours are probably great. Mine were terrible. Like, who cares? But it's your ability to figure that out and to think through that is what we are trying to teach kids. So I think it's mostly terrible, though I understand, Brady, where you are coming from. And I don't think AI in total, and because it's such a catch-all term, is like all destructive. But when I think about AI in education, I am waiting to see its use be more beneficial than harmful. So that's I am not open. So that's my point. Well, I think it also just depends how you use it too. I mean, I do think there's a difference, but you're right. If you know, so I think there's more conversations to be had for sure. But I don't know. The thing that had really touched me, though, I just have to say, is this part about, you know, maximizing efficiency. And the problem is, if we maximized efficiency to then rest, that would be one thing. But it's we maximize efficiency to just pile more on and on and on. And that, I think, is not healthy.
Yes. What a great point.
Yeah.
You should have a podcast. You're really good at this. No, incredibly well said. Thank you. I've been very curious, and I want to have more conversations about this because I think it is really important. All right, Steph, I want you to unleash your hot take that you threw out yesterday. You know which one I'm talking about?
So yesterday at the work session, we were talking about various things about grades and weighting classes. And one of the board members brought up how, well, students can't get into the top of the class if they don't take dual enrollment, or, basically how you kind of have to play around with classes and really kind of know the game in order to get your class rank to be, the top people. Yeah. And so I just said, well, and just sort of, we talked about how it was stressful on students. I sort of threw this out of, well, what if we just got rid of class rank?
Yes, please. Yes, please.
And I'm pretty sure the whole board lost their minds and they were like, what?
Yes.
So
can I
curious.
go first?
I would love to hear both of your opinions. And it doesn't, and I no judgment. I'm truly curious. And I said, I'm just throwing it out there. Like, would love to get feedback on it.
Yeah. So I have a personal stake in this. So I'm just going to give a little background. When I was a freshman, I've been trying to aim for the top of my class forever. And I always want to get straight A's and all this stuff. But when I was a freshman, I really wanted to be a professional dancer. And so I went to Dr. Phillips High School for their dance magnet. And that was 2 classes unweighted for me. But that was part of the magnet program. I had a bad experience. I left the magnet program. I came to Boone. Best choice of my life, by the way. And but then, because it was halfway through the year, I was in 2 random classes, tech, theater, and volleyball. And even though I was taking honors classes and I was taking an AP class, I was taking a bunch of unweighted classes. So I also take orchestra, and orchestra was unweighted. And so I've been slowly progressing, and I eventually left dance because I realized I don't want to be a professional dancer. I took 6 APs last year, got straight A's.
Damn.
I'm not in the top 20, not even close.
Wow.
Kind of close. I'm 28. And so next year I'm going to take 7 weighted classes, and I don't even know if I'm going to be in top 20. And that's just what I want. I'm guys, I've been working my butt off. I don't want to toot my own horn or anything, but I've been genuinely working hard and striving to be in these advanced classes and succeed in these advanced classes. And I feel like nothing I can do is ever enough, because these dual enrollment classes and now ACE classes being introduced to the mix were the first class where ACE is being introduced. So you have AP, ACE, and dual enrollment all being weighted the same. And I'm just going to put it out there. Some dual enrollment classes are a lot easier than AP classes, and they're only a semester. So a lot of kids just pile on these random dual enrollment classes. There's a game and sim class where I'm pretty sure they just play video games.
Mm-hmm. And that's 2 periods.
2 periods, weighted 6.0 to your GPA.
Wow.
And so these people just rig the system, and I'm hey, I'm in orchestra, I'm trying to enrich myself and become a fully well-rounded person, and that's harming me in the long run. And I just hate it, and it makes me feel bad about myself, to be honest. But Brady's gonna have a different take than me.
Okay, I love it. I love different takes. This is great. Brady, give it to us. Why do we keep it? You tell me what your opinion is.
I don't know, because I'm not going to disagree. I will say that. So for some background, I am currently my class's valedictorian.
I love it.
So if there was anybody who would not oppose this, it could be me. But I'm not going to say that, because for too many years, I've looked at the valedictorians of the classes, and the people that it is the people that Hope are saying. So it's the people that are taking these dual enrollment classes just so that they can have this GPA that's astronomically high. When I'm coming to you as a valedictorian myself currently, I would say that it's not beneficial for students to have this level of comparison between them, because really this level of competition, I've never really seen any success out of it. There's maybe some drive, but colleges don't care. They're recalculating your GPA.
Yeah.
Hope's taking orchestra. It's not like when a college looks at that, they're going to say, she took orchestra, her GPA fell, get her out of here. They're going to see that, and they're going to see that as another skill or another reason to have her even. And they're going to recalculate her GPA. They're going to see that it's a billion jillion. And
that's an official number.
Yeah.
Official number.
Harvard, let me in, please. Thanks, guys.
So it's pointless. Really, it has no bearing on our after high school plans.
Yeah.
And all it's doing is making it so people who know how to play the game, and I'll admit I know how to play the game. I have an older brother. He went through it. He pretty much advised me exactly on what I could do to make sure that I'm in this position I am. And it's unfair for people who are going to high school by themselves. They don't have this like very, very thorough mentorship. So I do believe that the class rank system, it unfairly puts people in competition to each other. And it doesn't really tell schools or really even students how much effort they're putting in, and a real indicator of intellect.
I think like top 10% of your class, top 20%, that's like that's okay, because you don't know your exact rank, but you know, okay, I'm at the top. But it's really like disheartening, because like Brady said, colleges don't care. A lot of the students who have gotten into like Ivy League schools or top 20 schools from Boone have not been, and not a lot, but a good number have not been in the top 20 of our class. And it's just really frustrating, because you see the top 10 get recognized at graduation, and they deserve that. They totally do. They work hard, they get good grades, but it's like there are so many kids in the audience who worked hard wherever they are. But if they are taking all regular classes, but they have to support their family at home or work a job, they worked hard to walk across that stage. And I think it just makes people feel bad about themselves, like I didn't do enough, or they're not getting recognized for their hard work. And that's also tying into the super scholar thing that happened this year. I know people were against that, and I just think people being against celebrating others is just bad, in my opinion. And so yeah, I just think the top 20% of your class is good, but it's like the Common App for it says like class rank if your school ranks. A lot of kids who get into Harvard or get into wherever, the Ivy Leagues, I see them on TikTok. They're like, my school doesn't rank. I just had, took 10 AP classes and I got 5s or whatever. So I wouldn't mind if you got rid of class rank.
But I mean, this is just great insight. I think, one of the things that I would hate to see is just students not taking things that interest them, like not taking orchestra or saying no. And I joked about it on the dais yesterday. Like I said, kids aren't taking driver's ed. And like, we really need our kids to take driver's ed. Because,
Guilty.
So that's kind of where I was coming from too. I think there's of course the huge mental health toll that I think comes from intense competition that affects more than just 10 to 12 people. I mean, it's really kind of, it's more than that. And then people who maybe aren't, they get off on, they have a rough freshman year, and then they're kind of like, well, I guess I'm out, and they strive less because of that.
And it ties into the efficiency thing, because so many kids are taking AP classes online over the summer and not taking the exam just to take the class. And it's like, why are we taking classes just to take them? And I know people might call me out, or I don't know who would call me out on this, like who's listening, but like my friends might call me out. They're like, hope you took 6 AP classes. Well, that's what I felt was the most rigorous and felt that I could succeed in. And I wanted to be in the most rigorous position. And next year, I'm super excited for all my classes because I'm genuinely interested in them. And it's just really sad, because it's like I'm taking all these AP classes or all these dual enrollment classes just to take them. And I feel like some people might not be getting the most out of these classes that they could be, and they're just taking them to be recognized on the stage at graduation.
Well, that was great. That was nice and spicy.
I like it. Thank you for your input. Like I said, I just was curious to see what people thought about it. So I have two.
I'll public comment on that.
Hope is ready.
I'm ready. Like even I've like the amount of conversations I've had with my parents, because they're like, "You're gonna be top 20, Hope. You're gonna be top." I'm like, I don't know, because I took orchestra for 4 years. How dare I? I'd have to say, you didn't just take orchestra. You basically, you are, the secondhand person. I feel like in orchestra, you're teaching others. You've excelled so you're just such a talented cello, right? Viola. Okay, I knew it was one of those strings. Clearly, I'm not a strings player. Just such a talented viola player, and I've seen you. You've been up there conducting the whole orchestra for some of these shows. That was super fun. I got early release, and so I got to help out the beginners, and it's so fun. It's so enriching, and I think I got more out of that experience than I would another AP class. And NHS gets to walk first across the stage at graduation, so that's pretty nice. So that will be something, but again, it's just like I feel like we need to prioritize taking classes to learn, not to get an A. And because Support public schools, please. I'm begging you. And even we can't ignore colleges too, because we are seeing the public universities of Florida under attack. And it's really sad because now I feel both Brady and I probably share the sentiment is that I'm looking out of state because I feel that I will be able to learn freely, not in Florida. And if I go to the University of Florida, which is a very good school, top 5 public school, one of the best institutions in
Go Gators.
Yeah, my mom's a Gator. So, one of the top 5 public institutions in our country. If I go there, I will not be able to learn what I want to learn.
Yeah.
And when I'm touring these schools up north, I'm like, they get it. They understand what I want to learn in college, what I want to get out of college. And right now, seeing all these attacks on like Florida getting rid of their DEI, Florida getting rid of some like 300 classes, it's like Spanish language. And I'm like, what the heck are we doing? Like most people, like a lot of people in Florida speak Spanish. I just think we need to pay attention to that too, because that's where a lot of our high school students who have been under attack their whole high school careers and middle school and elementary school careers are going into these public universities where they will just continue to be attacked. And that's just not fair.
Or they'll leave the state, and we have tremendous brain drain.
Yes.
So if you two leave the state, it's Florida's loss for sure.
No, yeah, it's a lot of the organizers I'm with in Florida leave, and they go to very good colleges. I'm very proud of them, very happy for them because they are just powerhouses of people and students. But our best organizers leave, and we end up with an extremely brain drained and deeply red Florida.
Yeah.
It's a positive feedback loop.
Yes.
So when we have these people leaving, it means there's less energy, there's less qualified people. And what is that going to cause except for more of these idiotic laws and bills to be passed that just further and further the problem?
Yeah.
Well said.
Yeah.
We figured it out on this episode today.
I know. I feel good about it. Yeah.
This might be the last episode because we just we nailed it. What else is there? Oh, I got to unleash my full technology is destroying everything take. So we need some more episodes.
Okay.
But if there's no technology, how do you have a podcast?
There you go. I know.
Bum, bum, bum.
We'll just get AI to do this podcast going forward.
Hello.
I know.
I'm your AI assistant.
I'm unnerved. It's probably time to end the podcast. Thank you both so much for coming. You were such wonderful guests. And
Thank you
for
so much for
having
having us.
Yeah.
Yes.
And thanks for knocking doors too. I appreciate it.
That's
Always.
favorite weekend activity.
All right. Have a great summer.
Bye.
Bye.